Hey, welcome back. You know, sometimes you stumble across a story that feels like it's from a different planet, a different set of rules entirely. A story where the lines between right and wrong, between high society and the underworld, get so blurry they practically disappear. I was thinking about that the other day, walking through Manhattan, past these beautiful old brownstones, and I wondered, what secrets are hiding behind those elegant facades? What if, over a century ago, one of those beautiful buildings wasn't a family home at all, but the headquarters of a criminal empire run by two of the most audacious entrepreneurs you've never heard of? I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Underworld Kings, the rise and fall from Light Not Studios. And today, we're going to Chicago at the dawn of the 20th century, to a world of velvet, vice, and vintage champagne. This is the story of the Everleigh Club and the two sisters from Kentucky who built it into the most infamous brothel in American history. This is episode 44, The Countess and the Cocaine, Ada and Minna Everleigh's infamous brothel empire. Now, first, a quick correction. I said Max in the title, and that's my own engineering brain trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Their names were Ada and Minna Everleigh. Max was never part of it. But the Countess and the Cocaine is absolutely right. Because these weren't your typical underworld figures. They weren't lurking in shadows. They were hosting senators and captains of industry, and they did it with a level of branding and business savvy that would make a modern CEO take notes. They were, in many ways, the original startup founders of sin. So who were they? Born Ada and Minna Simmons in Kentucky, they reinvented themselves completely. They claimed noble European lineage, hence Everleigh, a name they thought sounded aristocratic. They were smart, ambitious, and tired of small-town life. After some early, less glamorous ventures, they arrived in Chicago with a nest egg and a vision. Chicago at the turn of the century was a perfect storm, a booming industrial city packed with wealthy men, wide-open corruption, and a police force you could rent by the hour. The Levee district was where vice was not just tolerated, but systematized. And into this, the sisters planted their flag. They bought a double mansion on South Dearborn Street. This wasn't a seedy saloon with rooms upstairs. This was a palace. We're talking gold-plated spittoons, a library stocked with classics, a music room with a $15,000 gold leaf piano. That's over $500,000 in today's money. They had a lavish dining room serving gourmet meals on fine china. The place was perfumed, not with cheap perfume, but with real fragrance. They understood atmosphere. They understood client experience. They were selling a fantasy of class and exclusivity, not just sex. And men paid for it. A bottle of champagne could cost $50, when a good suit cost $15. A single night could run you thousands. And this is where their genius and their true crime element really kicks in. They were meticulous operators. They had rules. No roughhousing. No drunkenness. Their butterflies, as they called their workers, were screened, paid extremely well, provided with regular medical care, and dressed in the finest clothes. They offered something that looked, on its gilded surface, safe and refined. But the foundation was pure, brutal criminal enterprise. They paid off the police, the politicians, the vice lords. They had a network of lookouts and a system of alarms to warn of raids that never actually came. They were, for a long, glorious, and illicit decade, untouchable. Their client list was a who's who of American power, politicians, business titans, even, it was rumored, foreign royalty. They weren't just running a brothel, they were running a salon, a networking hub for the elite male world. And at the center of it all were Ada and Minna, the perfect hostesses. Minna was the gregarious frontwoman, Ada the strategic business mind. They curated everything. They even published a book of risque poetry for their guests. The branding was impeccable. But of course, an empire built on sand, or in this case, on payoffs and cocaine, cannot stand forever. And here's the cocaine part. It was the open secret of the Everleigh Club. It was offered casually, a part of the luxurious experience. A little pick-me-up for the wealthy patrons. This wasn't street corner dealing. It was another premium service. But it also represented the deepening moral panic that was starting to swirl around places like the Levee. Reformers were gaining steam. The very notoriety that made the Everleigh Club famous was also painting a target on its beautiful, ornate back. The fall came not from a competitor, but from the one thing their money couldn't permanently control: public scandal and political necessity. When a prominent Chicago socialite was murdered in another Levee resort in 1911, the public outcry was deafening. The city had to be seen to be cleaning up. The Everleigh Club, as the most famous symbol of the district, had to go. The payoffs stopped working. The orders came from the very top. They were shut down in 1911. And what did the sisters do? They didn't go to jail. They didn't fade into poverty. In perhaps their most brilliant business move, they got out clean. They saw the end coming, liquidated their assets. Legend says they left with $1 million in cash and simply vanished from Chicago. They retired, first to New York, then to Virginia, living quietly and comfortably on their fortune until they died, decades later, of natural causes. It's a fascinating end to the story. They weren't brought down by a rival gang or a bloody shootout. They were brought down by a shift in the wind, by the politics of respectability. And they had the sheer, cool-headed intelligence to read that shift and exit the stage with their wealth and freedom intact. In the annals of underworld kings, that might be their most unique crown. Thinking about this from my perspective, as an engineer and an entrepreneur here in New York, I'm struck by the pure, immoral business innovation. They identified a market need, a luxury experience in an immoral trade, and they executed it flawlessly. They had quality control, brand identity, customer retention, and scalable operations. They built a resilient system with redundancy in the form of that extensive protection racket. In a different life, with a different product, they would be case studies in Harvard Business Review. But their product was human beings and addiction. That's the chilling twist. It forces you to separate the mechanics of their success from the profound human cost they commodified. They were visionary businesswomen in a truly monstrous industry. So what's the takeaway from the reign of the Everleigh sisters? It's that the line between a king and a criminal isn't always about violence. Sometimes it's about perception, about audacity, and about understanding that every human desire, no matter how base, has a premium market. They sold elite decadence to the elite, and for a while, the world they lived in was happy to pay the price. Thanks for joining me for this trip to the Gilded Underworld. If you enjoyed this story of infamous empire builders, please do share the episode with someone who'd find it fascinating. And for more deep dives into the shadowy corners of history, make sure you're subscribed to Underworld Kings wherever you get your podcasts. This is Ibnul J. Farabi for Light Not Studios. Until next time, take care.